So despite having one of the worst product names that I can ever recall, the Siligun is actually a pretty cool piece of engineering. It's completely reimagined the way that a caulking gun works, but is it practical? Is it durable? And will it actually outperform and make you better at caulking than your standard dripless caulking gun? Will I be using this going forward in the future? Now, in terms of practicality, I used the Siligun to do all the caulking on these casings around this door that I had installed. And the first thing that I really noticed is because of the mechanism of how this gun works, it kind of grips onto the tube up front and scoots it out the back. It cuts it as it goes along. That way the plunger is right in the middle there and you don't have the need for the big rod sticking out the back. But because of that design, it doesn't allow you to spin the tube in the gun. So you have to keep the handle kind of orientated in the same way the entire time. I guess unless you're cutting the tip square, which I don't. I like to have a little line on the top and an angled tip. So when I use a regular gun, I will just spin the tube, come across. With this gun, it just takes a little getting used to. It's not a huge deal breaker, but it's just a slight little difference. Then the next thing is the trigger modulation. What I mean by that is as you squeeze the trigger, there's a bit of a lag in response time, which is not great. When you're starting in a corner, you want to have a nice little light pressure, so you're not getting a bunch of buildup. And then if you're coming across like a big gap, you would squeeze it a little harder to fill it in, and it kind of lags behind. You're past the big gap and it's just putting on too much. I'm sure you would get used to it, but it's quite a bit different than your standard caulking gun where the modulation and the accuracy is just, it's a lot more precise. You can get really kind of fine grip pressure here, or just get a little bit in the corner, and then as you're coming, it's just very natural to just squeeze it a little harder to put a little more material on there. You can never get away without having any kind of innuendos when you're talking caulking. And yeah, the final thing here is it is cool that you can get into some tighter spots because you don't have this rod coming out of the back. You end up with quite a smaller package. You can actually trim off the empty part of the caulking tube to get even tighter. In terms of the overall durability, a couple things to mention here. Just how robust is this gun? Can it squeeze out some of the higher viscosity caulking, like exterior siding caulking or PL premium glue? It can squeeze them out, but it is so much slower than a regular caulking gun. It doesn't have the power to really squeeze out the thick stuff. So it's not going to be a real viable option for any kind of exterior stuff or even construction adhesive. And then in terms of its build quality, it's definitely plasticky, and there is little kind of plastic parts that seem like they would break off easy. I did drop it off a 9-foot ladder. It survived the fall test. I did see a little piece of the gun shoot across the garage. I can't find it. The little clip did come undone. I popped that back on. The gun still works, so it's fairly rugged, but I mean, I've had this old caulking gun here for at least 10 years, and it's still going strong. You can't really kill these old metal guns. So not the most rugged design in the world. Will this be my caulking gun going forward? If you've watched the video, it's a pretty hard no. This is not really a viable option for professional homeowner. The only thing I could see myself using this for is I'm gonna throw it in my RV toolbox just because it's so small. So for the price, I wouldn't recommend the Siligun. It's all right. The design is pretty cool. And hey, if you want to see how to absolutely become a master of caulking, check out this video right over here. Oh my God, I've got a concussion. Oh, that kind of hurt a little bit. Point jab right into my forehead.